Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be describing and sorting bacteria based on how good, bad, or neutral they are to oneself. So first, a few disclaimers. While the tier list format is the easiest to use here, this is not a traditional tier list. Just because something is at the bottom does not mean it is less interesting or complex than something above it. All the microbes have incredible features that make them unique among each other. Also, this will just be a quick overview of each organism. There is enough information on each one for hour-long video essays. I've left links in the description for some interesting articles on each microbe if you wish to know more about them. And lastly, just because a microbe is sorted into the real nasty section does not mean that it has absolutely no benefits that will be uncovered in the future. This is just based on our current understanding. So that being said, let's get into our first microbe. We are starting off with Escherichia coli, which is perhaps the poster child for bacteria with both good and bad functions.
One of E. coli's biggest pros is its function in our gut microbiome by forming a protective layer which prevents harmful bacteria from attaching to our gut and infecting us. Additionally, it does something rare among our gut microbes, which is grow in the presence of oxygen. Most gut bacteria cannot grow in oxygen environments, so E. coli can help break down oxygen gas in our gut, facilitating the growth of even more beneficial bacteria. However, E. coli is also known for causing food poisoning and even urinary tract infections, resulting in symptoms such as diarrhea, stomach pains, pelvic pain, and fever. The reason some strains of E. coli are pathogenic and some are not boils down to their slight differences in DNA and location. For example, while E. coli are incredibly useful in our gut, they can cause kidney failure if they end up in the kidneys. Given this balance, I initially thought it might be sorted into half and half, but there is one more huge benefit to E. coli: the massive impact it has had on our understanding of science. Because all life on a single-celled level is governed by mostly the same processes, research that would be unethical to do in multi-celled humans or animals is perfectly fine on E. coli. One strain of E. coli, K12, has been dubbed a model organism for how well it emulates all living cells on a granular level.
So given its contributions to science, I'm going to place it in the generally good region of our board. Up next is Clostridium botulinum. Most known for causing extreme forms of food poisoning, this is another bacteria that has both good and bad traits.
This bacteria is mostly known for the toxin it produces, which is botulism. You might have heard of it before, as it is one of the most potent neurotoxins known to humanity. The bacteria begin to produce their toxin when trapped in low oxygen environments, most commonly improperly canned food. Once ingested in a high enough dose, it can initially cause symptoms such as a dry mouth or throat. The toxin then causes flaccid paralysis, causing your muscles to uncontrollably relax from the top of your body down, eventually reaching your diaphragm and compromising your ability to breathe. So it sounds like this bacteria is not very good, right? Well, it turns out the toxin can be used for cosmetic purposes, such as smoothing out wrinkles. You probably have heard of the toxin's industrial name, Botox. In addition, it is currently the most effective treatment for focal dystonia, a disease which causes uncontrollable muscle contractions. It can also be used to treat various eye disorders.
So while extremely toxic and something that needs to be controlled in the food industry, its medical applications will move it into the minor benefits section. Next up is Clostridium tetani. This is another bacteria which you almost certainly have heard of. It is one of my favorite bacteria and perhaps the most unique looking microbe on this diagram, resembling mini tennis rackets.
This is the bacteria responsible for the disease known as tetanus. In contrast to botulism, tetanus causes uncontrollable muscle contractions and rigidity. The disease has historically been known as lockjaw due to its ability to lock its victims' jaws shut. While tetanus is most commonly associated with rusty objects, such as decaying nails, the bacteria naturally occurs in soil and can infect an individual with an unclean wound. So given that we have found a use for botulism, you're probably thinking that we have found a use for tetanus, right? Well, no. In my research, I have found no quote-unquote good use for C. tetani. The only positive use I found is that it can be used in the development of the tetanus vaccine, making it some kind of bacterial Ouroboros. It goes without saying we would not need this positive use for C. tetani if it just didn't exist at all.
So given its deadly consequences, combined with lack of positive use, it is the first microbe in the real nasty section. The next microbe we will look at is Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is perhaps the most widely consumed bacteria in the world.
Lactobacillus acidophilus is largely considered a helpful bacteria, primarily living in your intestines and helping prevent diseases caused by pathogenic microbes, such as variant forms of E.coli. It's often included in purchasable probiotics that you take as a supplement if you are on medications or have pre-existing conditions that can harm your naturally occurring gut microbiota. L. acidophilus is also used in fermentation. If you've ever drank probiotic milk, it's a product of adding live L. acidophilus cultures to existing milk and allowing it to ferment. This is the reason why probiotic milk has a slightly acidic taste, since the microbe releases lactic acid as a byproduct of its fermentation process. There are some forms of L. acidophilus that are able to cause infection, but these infections are rare and not nearly as common as some other microbes, such as E. coli.
Given its largely positive effect on the human body, combined with its usage outside the body, this is our first bacteria in the healthy section of our board. Last but not least is Helicobacter pylori. This is a bacteria you might not have heard of, and is actually a favorite of one of my past college professors.
This bacteria resides in one's stomach, and used to be carried by a majority of the human population until better sanitation and food preparation practices decreased its number of carriers. It is most well known for causing severe stomach ulcers and can increase one's risk of gastric cancer should they unfortunately get a full-on H. pylori infection, usually caused by an adverse strain. However, H. pylori is one of the most ancient microbes known to our gastrointestinal system, coexisting with humans for tens of thousands of years. The benefits of H. pylori are recently becoming known to science. Researchers have found that individuals containing H. pylori can have a reduced risk of developing diseases such as asthma and inflammatory bowel disease. H. pylori is also known to help modulate ghrelin, also known as the hunger hormone, which can help you feel more satiated after a meal and therefore avoid overeating.
So in conclusion, yes, Helicobacter pylori can cause diseases in humans. But it also has benefits, which is why it has coexisted with humans for so long. Given that it's mostly considered benign, but also has good and bad traits, I think it fits right into our half and half region. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, this is a listing of how beneficial these microbes are, and in no way reflects how interesting or complex they are in comparison to each other. I am planning on adding more to this list, so if you have favorite microbes you would like me to feature, please let me know in the comments.